I'm Laura. I'm an RN. Tyler, well, he had an incident where he had to be hospitalized and he had to be intubated.
When you take benzos daily for a long time, that calm becomes your normal.
Project KALM.
Welcome to Project KALM with a K. My name is James, and our mission is to make the world a healthier and happier place, one scoop at a time. This is episode one, which means I have a feeling that I'm going to look back at this 3 years down the line, and I'm probably going to say I sucked, but that's okay because that's how everyone starts. If you're watching this and you're kind of in that limbo of wanting to start something, but is too afraid, this is your sign. Take the first step. Everyone starts off sucking, and the only way to suck less is to do more of it. And after those words left my mouth, I hope no one clips that. It makes it into a
Well,
good.
we do all start off sucking. That's true.
And I just hope no one clips that, and then just now that's the image of me that just goes viral. But for the three viewers who are watching this, I do have a big gift for you at the end, so stay tuned. And I'm super sorry about the long intro, but everyone, I'm not sure if you can see on the other side of the screen, but we have a very special guest. Laura, how are you doing?
I am doing just fine. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's Friday evening. I just came from the gym. I have some Korean barbecue on the stove, so I can't. It's not. It's fully cooked already. It's not running while I'm doing this podcast.
What are you making, James?
It's called Teji Bulgogi, which is like a spicy. It's like a spicy Korean pork meat that's like marinated.
Okay.
Have you had pugo? Have you ever gone to like a Korean barbecue spot
Once.
before?
Once.
Okay. And then did you have like it's kind of, it looks like shredded meat, but it's not shredded. It's just like thinly sliced meat that's like marinated. Have you had bulgogi before?
If I have, I wouldn't remember.
Well,
That's
it's
kind of a mouthful.
yeah, gotcha. And then it's kind of similar to that, but then it's the pork version and it's the spicy version of it. So
So do
really
you put it in like a wrap or anything?
no, you eat it with rice. All Korean dishes is paired with rice and kimchi.
Oh, okay. Well, kimchi is very good for you, right?
Which is very, very good for you. And the tubs last like a very long time. I think like almost a year, depending on how fermented you want it to be.
Really?
I always have like multiple tubs in my fridge. Is there like an H Mart or like a Zion Market near your place?
I don't think so, but I can get Asian food delivery. I do
Got
that.
it. Well, that works. That
Yeah.
works. Well, we kind of digressed a little bit, but Laura, can you give the audience a bit of a background? Let them know who you are, please.
Sure. I'm Laura. I have lived in Southern California pretty much all my life. I've tried leaving and I always end up back here. I went to USC and graduated in 90 something or another, and I'm an RN or a former RN. I don't work in the hospital anymore. I have a disabled son who I provide full-time care for, and he's pretty much my life, and I am very happy with that.
I
I I feel like I've been given a purpose.
I love it. Can you tell us more about your son?
Yeah. His name is Tyler, and he has had a lot of health problems because he was born with his intestines outside of his body. It's called an omphalocele. And that was all repaired when he was 1 day old. And then when he was 2 months old, he had a horrible, I don't want to say it's a side effect, but his intestines twisted and they turned to gangrene. And I contacted his surgeon right away. She brushed me off. Everybody was brushing me off. And ultimately, because of being brushed off, he lost about 95% of his intestines. And when you don't have your intestines, everything is compromised. Everything starts in your gut. And when
Yeah.
that's gone, Everything suffers. So it's been a real challenge to keep him going with such a deficit.
How did how do they brush off something like that? Is there has to be like tests, X-ray or
They
something?
thought I was a hysterical new mother, but I was like, this kid is post-op. He had a major surgery. It wasn't until he was literally dying at the hospital where the surgery was performed, where they were calling that surgeon who I called, the first person I called was her, and she still wouldn't come in. And it wasn't until we got up into the intensive care unit, they knew something was very wrong with him. And I said to the nurses, he looks like he's going to code. And you know what a code is, right? Sorry. A code is when somebody stops breathing, dying. So I said, he looks like he's going to code. And they said, oh, no. You're just tired, mommy. Go down to the cafeteria. Go get something to drink. And I thought, I'm losing my mind. So I walked out of the doors and I hear code blue, PICU, code blue. And I thought, can't be him. They just said he wasn't going to code. He's okay. And I see my husband waving me and frantically, come back. And sure enough, it was Tyler coding. The surgeon came in an hour later, smelling like alcohol. And I thought, again, I am losing my mind. She wouldn't do this. This woman has a great reputation. She operated on my daughter years ago. She saved my daughter's life. There's no way I'm losing my mind. Until the next night, when I was talking with the charge nurse and the respiratory therapist, and I said, because his bladder ruptured after that. I kept saying his bladder's going to rupture. His bladder's going to rupture. They didn't have a catheter in him, and they're pumping in fluids. He was in shock from his intestines had turned to gangrene. He lost so much intestine. He was in shock, and he had what's called third spacing. So the fluid was basically leaking out of his circulatory system into his tissue. So they're pumping fluid into him. And I said, there's no catheter. And he was so swollen from the third spacing, he couldn't void. And I said, there's no catheter in him. This is common sense. His bladder is going to rupture. They did nothing. Sure enough, his bladder ruptured. Surgeon comes back, or actually before that, I was talking to the charge nurse, waiting for the surgeon to come. Talking to the charge nurse, the respiratory therapist, and I said, I must be losing my mind. I smelled alcohol on her. And they said, I'm sure you did. Everybody here knows she's an alcoholic. I said, excuse me? What? Everybody here knows she's an alcoholic. So, of course, I was floored, couldn't believe that they were letting this go on. I go downstairs to tell the hospital authorities about this, and they knew, they blew me off. They knew. So that's how Tyler ended up in the state that he's in. When he was so swollen and filled with toxins from gangrene, he ended up with some brain damage. His brain basically was crushed because from that third spacing where the fluids were escaping his circulatory system, his head was like Charlie Brown, round, he was unrecognizable. So he ended up with some brain damage from that too. And that's made it hard to communicate with him. He knows what he wants. He'll find a way to tell me what he wants, but he can't talk in sentences like a kid should.
It's that young age is usually like the very delicate age where things,
Yes.
or even if you don't notice that there's a problem, that if problems are not addressed, it can always come back later as a more serious problem, right?
Right.
How is Tyler like these days, or
Tyler is still medically fragile. He'll always be medically fragile because he's compromised.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a full set of intestines, so his immune system is impaired. His absorption is impaired. His everything is impaired because, like I said, everything starts in the gut. Mm-hmm. And when you can't get every part of the intestine absorbs something different. Mm-hmm. And taking out most of it means your intestine has to adapt and has to find a way to do it to support the rest of your body. So he was on IV food, which is called TPN, total parenteral nutrition, for 8 years. And the big fear was that we were going to run out of a place to put the central line in. You can't just use an IV for that because it's so caustic. It'll burn your veins up. So we had to use a large vein in him, and that it feeds to the heart. Actually, I have one. This is a central line right here. Can you see it?
Yeah, so that's feeding nutrients, or
So he had, so like it would go into a vein in his arm and feed up to his heart like this.
and then what's
And this
that?
part sticks out.
Yeah. Well, what's the purpose of that?
Well, that was to give him food
oh,
for
food.
years. IV food.
Does he still have that?
No, thank God.
Okay.
But we ran out of places to put these.
Wow.
We burned up all his veins. He got septic over 35 times from having one of these.
Uh-huh.
So it's just a miracle that he's even alive. I mean, I could go on for 2 hours telling you his medical history, James. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent.
Oh, it's okay.
But I think it's kind of important if somebody's going to be listening about my story to understand what happened, why he's in the position he's in today. It's been a battle. We've had to fight hard to keep him alive. And I've had to fight physicians a lot because I haven't always agreed. We've been put through the ringer.
Especially after like the first incident, it's your trust is with
Gone.
It will be very difficult to rebuild that.
It was shot. And these are like my peers, these nurses
That's true.
who covered this up. You know, how can you trust again when you've seen such corruption?
Mm.
So I don't have faith in hospitals. I really don't. It's really hard when, you know, he has to go or has had to go. You know, I'm always side-eyeing everybody. But he's made it.
And he's good now, right? Like today.
He's good now.
He's
good
strong.
now.
It's strong. Everything.
His stubbornness has paid off.
And then the stubbornness is now blooming in other aspects.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Give me an example.
Well, let's see. When he was, and this is, I mean, everything can be come back. It's my fault. It's my fault that he has this obsession with Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
When he was about 2 years old, I didn't think he was going to make it.
Yeah.
And we were walking around a mall with my mother-in-law, and I had a Coke because I'm a Coke drinker too. And I let him have a few sips of it. That was a mistake. Because to this day, Coke, 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 Coke. He sneaks Cokes. The minute I walk out of the kitchen,
Yeah.
he sneaks in there. He has opened, I like the Mexican Coke. They come in a glass bottle.
Yeah.
That little monkey has taken that glass bottle and opened it with his teeth.
Oh man. He learned that somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, from where though? I don't know.
Well, does he watch like movies, Netflix, or what?
He likes to watch YouTube, but he watches weird stuff on YouTube, like effects, stuff that has effects.
Okay.
Like people have taken a clip of Shrek and put it in G major, and it just sounds awful. And he'll watch it over and over and over.
It's funny because I have a feeling I've fallen into that part of YouTube before. Anyone who watches YouTube has like at least once in their life, they just click on the recommended video and you go on to the next recommended video, and then after hours, you're in this dark, weird spot.
Yeah.
YouTube. You're like, how did I get here?
Yeah. It's like a rabbit hole.
Yeah, it definitely is. And when you got Calm for Tyler, what made you want to get Tyler started on Calm?
Oh yeah. So Tyler, well, he had an incident where he had to be hospitalized and he had to be intubated. And he was given Ativan. It's a benzodiazepine. He was given Ativan to keep him calm. He was unconscious pretty much when he was on the ventilator.
Yeah.
But that was part of keeping him unconscious, was giving him Ativan. And because his incision where he had been operated on was so delicate, paper thin, they wanted to keep him very mellow. So I agreed, go ahead, keep him on the Ativan, not realizing that we were creating a physical dependence. And sure enough, he became physically addicted to it. He didn't even know he was getting it, but he knew he was going into withdrawals for sure, because he didn't know why or what he was feeling. We knew what was going on, but he became physically dependent on it. And it took roughly 5 years to get him off of it.
What was that process like trying to get him off?
Hell. When you have somebody who doesn't understand why their hands are going into a cold sweat and they're feeling like panicky and then feeling anger and rage, and you can't calm them down, it's not, there's nothing you can do to say it's going to be okay. They're feeling horrible. So we've had to do it very, very slowly, like so slowly that the body didn't detect that we were doing it. And part of that was, I think he was going into fits of rage, partly from coming off of the benzodiazepine, but also I think there was a hormonal factor that played into it. But he was going into these fits every so often where he became physically violent with me. I mean, he's much smaller than I am and he can't walk, so it's not like I was in danger or anything. But coming near him, he's trying to pinch me as hard as he can, and he did. I mean, it hurts. He's scratching me to where I'm bleeding. He was just in this like feral Tasmanian devil mode where you cannot do anything to calm him down. So I was pretty desperate to find something to help him. I wasn't going to go back on the benzodiazepines. No way.
Yeah.
My friend Kimberly had been using Magoo at the time. And she was so excited about it. Finally, something, had worked for her. And I said, well, maybe that would help Tyler. Maybe, I'm willing to try it. Why not? I tried it. It worked. And it worked for quite a while, like fully worked. No more episodes of rage. Up until a couple of months ago, where it stopped working. It didn't work for Tyler. It didn't work for Kimberly. It didn't work for anybody I had recommended it to. And that's when you started Calm. And we got a jar of the Calm, and we're back to Calm.
I like that.
We're back to Calm. No more rage episodes. And these episodes were lasting like 24 hours of him trying to rip my throat out, breaking everything in the house that he could get his hands on, throwing himself into the wall with his head. He was miserable. So this has done a lot for us.
The episodes that are happening now, do you think is it still part of the withdrawals, or is it maybe something else? Well, what's your opinion on
Well,
that?
he's not getting them since he's been on the Calm.
Okay. And then
It's
right now everything's good. A-okay on that?
fine, perfectly fine. I don't want to call him a guinea pig, but he doesn't know he's getting it.
Yeah.
And if he's all of a sudden going back into these fits, of course there could be other reasons, but he went back into the fits and then stopped them once I started giving the Calm. So I don't know what other result you could get, but it's worked for us. But I do have to say, he has to have it every day. It has to be given. Like, I notice he starts winding up if I have forgotten to give it to him.
Yeah, that's tough because usually, so the way I like to view Calm is I like to view it like cough drops, right? When you feel your flu or like a cold coming up and your throat's getting itchy, you bring out your bag of cough drops to help relieve things when it's bad, and then when you feel better, you kind of put things away. So I like to see if you calm the same way. Like I want us to be like a stepping stone for people to start feeling good enough so that they can start incorporating like the lifestyle habits that are more permanent, like things like exercise, diet, journaling, meditation. Everyone's different, but the only way to know what works is to just try different things. But Tyler's is a unique situation because outside this, it's I feel like it's hard to find something that can quell the anger and the fits, right? Because so do you think the anger and the fits is kind of like temporary? How old is Tyler?
20.
20? Do you think it's kind of like, like the 18, 20, the young adult stage is kind of like the
Jen, I don't know. I think a lot of it's hormonal because I have a friend who also has her son is autistic. Um, and he's 24, I think. And he was going through the same thing, that to the point where there was no choice. They had to medicate him
oh,
because he was getting violent as well. Now, if Tyler had been as big as her son, I would have had to do the same thing. If I hadn't have found Calm, I would have had to do the same thing. At this point, I'm trying to convince her to give Calm a try because this medication that he's on has had a lot of side effects. He's gained like 40 pounds. And I know he's not happy with that. And why be on a medication if something natural works? Right?
that's true. I mean, of course, I'm not going to say that meds don't have their place. There's always going to be situations
Of
where
course.
needed,
Of course.
but
But always the first line should be something that's not pharmaceutical,
but yes, I agree with you on that.
if you
That
can.
shouldn't be the first line. I think that's the one thing. And I just speak, and I'm not saying this is for everyone watching. I don't want to get bombarded that he's anti-med, but then it's just from my experience because it's because I went to the meds for my solution, and then I've also been through the withdrawal stages of coming off benzos, and
Was it miserable?
it was it was very because the thing is the way I felt it is when you take benzos daily for a long time, that calm becomes your normal. So,
Right.
but the
Right.
thing is, as soon as you take the benzos away, your body can no longer stay normal anymore, and it goes into a
Like a hyperdrive.
hyperdrive state, which put me into seizures. So it's so the yeah, and it's, when you're trying to quit, you also feel like you don't feel good. Like all of your symptoms just come back like a storm, and this is just my experience of coming off of it. So I feel like if there's always pros and cons, but if that's the cons, I would if I had to redo things, I wish I would have tried some other things first
Right.
before moving over to benzos.
I
But
don't think you probably didn't even realize what you were signing up for.
of course, because you take it on the first day, you're like, what the heck is this magic? Right?
Yeah.
It feels good.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when you had a decade of severe depression and anxiety, like the day you feel good and you haven't felt that in a while, you're gonna want to get that again. And then you like when you're going day by day and you had your first week of feeling good, you had your first month of feeling good, you're not even thinking about the cons until you're like at least a year in, and you're like, maybe I should stop. Like, and during that year, you had to taper up your doses because your body gets used to things.
Right.
And then now you're
You get a
taking,
tolerance.
yeah, and now you're taking 4 milligrams a day, and you're like, maybe I should start tapering off. And then you try, and you think you can go cold turkey, and then boom, that's the mistake. And then now you realize how deep in the hole you are. And at that point, the climb up is a little bit more difficult. But
Right.
it's not impossible. I feel like it's
No, no, no. But you know what? I really think like the way that we ended up doing it for Tyler worked the best is at it so slowly that your body doesn't detect it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we had to do it like we had to crush the pills and add water to it. And then like it would be less than a 0.01 ml
Yeah.
difference over 3 days. Like that's why it took like 5 years. He was on a very high dose.
You know, that's the second time I've heard that from a parent doing that for their child because you have to because their dosage is already on the smaller end, so it's like micro adjustments. That's that's a lot of work, but I'm glad that you went.
But the calm also helped too. I think that did help, as we were getting toward the end of getting him off of, it was actually Valium at that point.
Yeah.
I think it really did help with just kind of keeping him level from, having this micro dose to having nothing.
Yeah.
So it played a role in helping him get off and probably stay off. Now there's something called rebound that I've been, keeping my eyes peeled for. Are you familiar with rebound?
There's rebound for everything, right? For the or I mean not for everything, but then like when you just stop taking stuff after you've been taking it for a while, is that what you mean? Or
Yeah. I actually haven't seen the rebound for, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I've only seen it for benzodiazepines. But
alcohol and SSRIs and
okay.
just
Well,
like
those are other sedatives. I don't know enough about it, honestly. I'm just going to shut my mouth about that.
okay,
But I think the calm probably is helping keep him from going into that rebound phase.
cinder blow. Okay. Well, it's stories like this that really fuel me to move forward and just work my butt off to go and change the life of one more person. And I really appreciate you sharing it with me and for everyone else who is watching because
Of course. I really want other parents to know about this. I really, really want other parents to know that there is something out there that they have control over. They don't need to call their physician. This is something they have control over and it works. And that's my big thing. I hate having someone tell me, well, it hasn't been enough time before we can refill that. You know what? I'm not asking because I want it. I'm asking because I have to. So that's one really huge benefit is that it's effective and you have control over it. Good job, James.
Thank you. Well, that's a wrap for today. And for all the parents out there, or just anyone who is watching this, I mentioned that I had a small gift for you at the end of the video. If you use the code Laura, you'll get 50% off your next order.
That's really nice.
If you're watching this way into the future and that code is already expired, don't worry. We're going to have a lot more of these secret codes in our podcast and our shorts. So make sure you click that subscribe button. But that's a wrap.
Hopefully Laura won't expire.
If you say it that way, now I feel bad. I know you're teasing, but that's a wrap. Thank you again, Laura, for hopping on. And everyone else, I wish you all a healthy and happy day. Take care.
Thanks, James.